Oh, Melbourne. Why do we do it to ourselves? Adrian Horton with you, Cade McDonald, the review show, very, very raw review show, it must be said. It's only a matter of hours, within 2 hours of the time of game ending. You can hear it in my voice. I am livid. I'm gutted. I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm so many emotions right now. And I guess that's the beauty of doing a podcast when it is so raw. And Caden, how do you sum it up? How are you feeling right now?
Oh, Naughtsie, thanks for having me, mate. How do I sum it up? Like predictable, typical, frustrating, disappointing. I don't know if this is a little bit strong, and maybe this is a little bit emotional as well, but slightly embarrassing. Like, I'm not sure why I feel that, because the competition is so even and whatnot, but that slight feeling of like dropping one, which you pretty confidently would have banked, is just a disappointing feeling to have.
So disappointing. We could use so many descriptive words. Frustration. Marker put it really well in our thread. And again, typically do these shows after a sleep, which helps because you have more perspective. So hoping that tonight we can be as balanced as I think we are on those review shows when we get at least a day to dissect all the data and run through it in more detail. But Marker just said, just want to go into the change rooms and just scream at them and just be like, what was that? Like, how does that happen, boys? And one player that springs to mind when Marker put that in our thread was Stephen May. And we saw Stephen May having a go at a few of the boys for some lackadaisical defending, which hasn't been our DNA in the past 6 weeks. We've been really strong in that area of our game. So I think where we'll start is the 721, and then we need to move beyond the 721 and just accept the reality that St Kilda rocked up. Their egos have been bruised in recent weeks. They'd lost 3 on the trot. Everyone was telling Melbourne that they were the best thing since sliced bread and one of the form teams in the competition, and myself included and many others already looking at King's birthday and taking it up to Collingwood and blah, blah, blah. And I still think we can, and I do expect a big response from this group. But we fixate on the 721. So the most annoying thing about the 721, Kados, is, to your point off the top, predictable. We've seen this before so many times. We've seen it in Alice Springs. We did it against GWS a couple of years ago where we kick, I think, 6-16 or 6-18 off the top of my head. Awful. I said on the post-match debrief video that I did, that I popped up on YouTube, I have the scoreline of 7-11 against the Pies and 9-17 against Carlton in the 2023 final series imprinted in my mind. It will be there until we start winning finals again, especially at the MCG. It's not going to go away until we get that done. And lo and behold, we're still sitting here talking about our awful goal kicking. And even in recent weeks when we've won, we haven't been kicking it through the big sticks. We haven't been clinical. And the thing that frustrates me the most is when we let St Kilda get out of the gates, get out of the blocks, and they were brilliant. So fair play to them in that 10-minute purple patch. They were dominant from clearance. They were contested possessions. They were just all over us, and they hit the scoreboard. And when they got that little cushion in the game, every single opportunity that we had when we had momentum, we just butchered it in front of goal. And this is the problem. I've seen us too many times before because there's more because there's more pressure on those kicks when you are coming from behind and trying to eat into a lead. Mentally, something ain't right. When Disco Turner bobs up in the last quarter, who I think is a very accurate kick, misses. When Jake Melksham, probably the guy you wanted the ball to be in the hands of the most misses one from 20 metres out straight in front at the start of that fourth quarter to really get us going, give us an opportunity to come over the top and pinch a win. It has to be mental for me, Caden. And Nuggets and a few of us boys are disputing in the thread whether it's a coaching thing. Absolutely, there's got to be a bit of coaching mixed into it as well. I just think there's this mental fragility. It's infectious. It runs through the club, particularly when we're behind and we're chasing leads. We've never really been a good side that chases down a lead in that manner. And I could sit here speaking like a broken record about the amount of times that we've actually done this in a game and contrived and found a way to lose through our poor execution in front of goal. Our goal kicking is disgraceful, Caden, and this is the exclamation mark. I thought, and it's very easy over this past 5 or 6 weeks, but there were times where it's like, oh, it's still there, the 7-14 against Hawthorn, which was the only loss in that run. I foolishly thought that we were past this. I didn't envisage a world where we could kick a 7-21 for God's sake, but I had this feeling that we'd turned a corner in that respect. We have not. It is still very much a part of our DNA. It is easily the most frustrating thing about being a Melbourne supporter over the past 4 or 5 years, and I just don't know if we'll ever fix it under Simon Goodwin. Maybe it's personnel, maybe it's coaching, maybe it's mental. It's probably all of those things combined, and fucking hell, it is just so frustrating, and I'm so sick of talking about it. I feel like a broken record.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like, it's cost us so many games in the past 3 or 4 years and cost us big games when we were contending. And I wouldn't know across the league if there's a team that wins X score as much as us, but misses so many chances that we lose. Like, I'd love to see that stat, but it feels like we'd have to be one of the teams that does that quite often. And just big gulfs in the goals and behinds as well. It's never a balanced score sheet. Super disappointing. And the Saints, what was frustrating about the game was it was won and lost in that first quarter. And what was frustrating was it felt similar to Freo last year. Like, when we played Freo at Alice Springs, we got off to an absolute flyer. I remember in the first 5 minutes going, we're going to flog Freo today. Like, we are so on. And I can't remember what happened, but I reckon we had a shot directly in front and missed, or we butchered a goal opportunity in the goal square last year against Freo. And then from then on, we didn't get a lick and we got absolutely torched. And it sort of felt like that at the start of this game. Like, our first 5 minutes, I was going, man, the way we're moving the footy and our pressure, and I think we had a couple of shots on goal, and then Cozzy misses that opportunity to snap. And then for the next 15 minutes, we're on the back foot. It felt like an unprofessional performance, to be honest. And I don't know if there's little quirks in the dimensions of the ground, because they were saying it was one of our lowest pressure games. And I wonder, is there more space, and is it harder to press up and do the grid when there's more space? For some reason, we just couldn't get the pressure game going. The grid didn't lock them up. Some really cheap goals inside 50, whether at ground level or they found pretty easy marks. And I don't know. Disco Turner going forward was exciting. Could we have done that at halftime? I'm not sure. Just an opportunity gone begging, and it sums up our season. You look at the fixture and you see Brisbane, Sydney, and St Kilda, and it's the start of the year. You're saying, oh, well, we're not beating Brisbane or Sydney, and we're beating the Saints. And then those results are flipped. So it's just confusing, frustrating, and ultimately very disappointing.
So disappointing. I think the Cozzy miss at the start of the game, we had a fair bit of momentum and we didn't capitalise. I felt like the score could have quite conceivably been 3 goals to zip. St Kilda go down the other end after Cozzy just leans back on a left foot snap, doesn't even make the distance. They score, and then suddenly it gave them a spark. It gave them an early route into the game and they pounced on it. And then all of a sudden, kicking goals equals confidence, as Tom Marcazzani likes to say on the preview show. And they fed off it. So I think we sit here, we laud Cozzy a lot, but we need to also be critical and constructive. And I really thought that missed opportunity from Cozzy, I thought it set the tone for the day. And especially what transpired after that with St Kilda kicking 6 unanswered goals. So that was outrageously annoying and frustrating, and we're probably going to continue to use these words throughout the review. But it is a missed opportunity. It was just a great chance for us to go up there, be disciplined, be professional. I think the writing was on the wall in my brain before the start of the game when I watched the whole pre-game, which is something I don't typically do, just so flat out with the kids. And it was Jono and Eddie Betts and Tom Hawkins and Sarah Jones just like constantly bigging up Melbourne, talking about how they're one of the best contest team in the past 6 weeks. They're one of the best clearance teams, or this, they're that. Tom Hawkins saying that he can't wait for the rise of the Melbourne Football Club to continue. Very little chat about St Kilda. And I sat there and I had this horrible, sick feeling in my stomach. And I messaged the boys and I said, I suddenly feel so nervous because as Melbourne supporters, we know this better than anyone. Like when we're absolutely flying, we've always had a propensity to just drop a really random game that we shouldn't. And that's what's transpired. So in the wash-up, every single Melbourne supporter out there has a right to be absolutely filthy about dropping this game because the possibilities of winning it, Caden, we spoke about it quite a bit. And we caught up on Friday and we were like, get to 6-6, set yourself for Collingwood. And we did not respect the St Kilda Football Club. They've still got some seriously classy players in that outfit. Wangalin Malira is an absolute jet. I thought he was the difference in the second half. His polish, his run and carry, unbelievable. Didn't see enough of that from Jake Bowie, who was a bit down, and he's had a great season. Rowan Marshall battled pretty hard against Max Gorner. Give Max the chocolates, but again, he gets involved at times. Marcus Windhager did an awesome job on Cozzy Pickett to quell him. Jack Higgins bobs up. Dan Butler bobbed up, didn't he? Kick 4. A lot of them just Joe the Goose out the back. And then even their young fella, Keeler, competed really well against Stephen May. Yes, again, Stephen May probably got the chocolates, but I thought he did well. And Cal Wilkie, we just decided to bomb it down his throat at different times. So there's still a lot of class in that St Kilda team. I think we've come in, we've underestimated them a bit. I think our really lax first quarter and giving them a lead and giving them some impetus and giving them a sniff in the contest is something that we'll come back and look at, and we'll just rue the fact that we weren't switched on and we weren't ready from the first bounce. And we say it all the time and everyone says it all the time. It's a brutal, unforgiving competition, and it's got a wonderful way of just bringing you back down to earth with a thud. And that's exactly what's happened today for Melbourne, and far out. It is just a huge missed opportunity, and it is so bitterly disappointing that they weren't switched on, Caden, because I think we could clearly see that in the first quarter.
Yeah, and when you're chasing the ledger and you're chasing the ladder, like we are, it's just like you can't. There's no room for error, and there's no room to drop games like that either. But if you look across the competition, like the Saints, they're a team that, drop games to the lowest of the low, but they can take it up to the highest of the high. And I suppose that's potentially any team in the competition. So it's just one of those ones where if we're slightly off, they're slightly on. Any team can beat anyone. So there is that nervousness going into any game. Like you can't bank any result in this competition, but I was still really confident coming into it. So, it's the Ross Lyon factor again. He's a very smart coach. I don't want to go too strong, but I'm glad that I assume we don't play them again, but I'm glad that I won't have to sit through another full Saints game for the rest of the season. It's dour. It's tactically brilliant, but it's just a tough, boring, like stifling brand that they're producing at the moment. But then again, on the flip side, to give them some credit, some of their ball movement was scintillating. So, yeah, they've just come in, done a number on us. I think we're sharing the flight back with them, so that'll be awkward. Just a very quiet, a quiet plane ride home from our lads, I would have thought. But and now we get a bit of a break till we take on the Pies. It's annoying that the Pies played the Friday night and get like a 10 or 11 day break. We play the Sunday and travel from Alice. So it'll just be a pretty routine 7-day break for us, essentially. But yeah, what a flat feeling the lads must be feeling.
Definitely. Should we speak about Alice Springs and our horrible record up there?
Yeah, well, for sure. So I didn't think that was a real thing because, I don't know, in the back of my mind, I remember early days, Jeff Garlett had an absolute blinder and torched Gold Coast back in the day. And then I remember we did a number on Adelaide. And then I remember we did a number on Port. So in the back of and then we fell short against the Giants after we absolutely torched them. So in my head, without actually looking at the cold hard facts, I sort of like that we played there. Like I never really liked traveling to Darwin where it was like Jesse Hogan and Brad Green and Trent Gove and we're in sweatbands, and it was that felt like an absolute outlier of a game of football. But when we play at Alice Springs, and it's always, besides the Giants game, it's always gorgeous. Like the backdrop today, I was sitting there watching it with my mate Connor, and we were saying, holy hat, like the landscape is stunning. Yeah. The weather's always perfect. So when people bring up the Alice Springs game to me, I say, oh, well, I'm confident. Like, I love that we play there. But the Freo result, the way that they spread the ground and they made the ground look enormous against us, and then St Kilda did the same to us again, and it was almost Marvel-like conditions. There was no breeze, and it was perfect. So it was almost like we played a team prime for Alice Springs conditions. Yeah, I sort of do question it a little bit. Like, I love that the footy club goes out there early and they do a lot of community stuff, and seeing all the little kids' faces and whatnot. Like, I never want to. Like, I love that we have a bit of an imprint in that part of the country, but we're not getting the results there. So I don't know. Like, the money I assume the club gets is quite good, and the community stuff is amazing, and that potentially outweighs the result. But we're just dropping a game a year. We're giving up 4 points every year by playing there at the minute. So it's something we got to fix.
It's a really hard one for me as well, because I'm exactly the same as you. I think the work that we do in the community is awesome. I'm super proud of it myself. But the reality is, it is not a fortress whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like anything but. St Kilda have beaten us. We're a pretty lowly side. Freo did a number on us last year. We've had plenty of other losses in there that probably shouldn't have eventuated. And I look at Gold Coast in Darwin, fortress. You look at Hawthorn in Hobart or Launceston, fortress. You look at North in Hobart. They're hard to beat down there. Like, they're a pretty good side down there. And then another one that springs to mind is the Doggies at Ballarat.
Giants at Canberra, pretty strong.
They're all fortresses, you could say, except for obviously North and Hobart. But the reality is North and Hobart's never a gimme. It's a tough day at the office. So the fact that we're the outlier is what really stings. The only other thing you have to throw in there that is different to all of those other venues that are thrown up is we play one single game there. Now, I don't have Gold Coast's fixture in front of me, but I think it's 2 games that they play.
Yeah, and they stay the whole week.
Yeah.
So they move their whole footy department or whatever.
Which would help. But if you want to fixate on all of those and just speak about the fact that they're daunting prospects, it is so annoying that we're the ones that we play up this notion that we love it up there, we love the ground, it's awesome, but the ground doesn't suit us. St Kilda did exactly what Freo did. They just played a contested game. They took the ball off us, and they made the ground big, and they were able to just run us off our feet. And especially in defensive transition, I thought they were excellent. So the ground doesn't suit us. We might love the backdrop. We definitely love the community work, but we're kidding ourselves if we actually love playing at the venue, because the venue hasn't been treating us very well and we don't play the venue very well at all. So it's a really interesting conundrum. I think we'll just continue with it for the foreseeable. I think, to your point, we're entrenched. We've got an imprint there, so it'll go on. But it's certainly something that's already doing the rounds on the socials. A lot of Melbourne supporters obviously upset about the fact that we go up there and it shouldn't feel like a 50-50 game. It should very much feel like we've got the ascendancy, and just, again, another example of it not being the case today. Just the pressure rating in the last quarter was really interesting, Kados. So I know we kicked ourselves out of it and we got enough opportunities to get close enough, and we should have kick-started the fourth quarter with at least a goal from Disco or Malky.
Yeah, it should have been 2, yeah.
But how much do we read into that last quarter in terms of the lowest pressure rating I think we've ever recorded under Goody in the last quarter? There's part of me that thinks we're banging the door down in the second and third quarter, didn't get reward for effort. You get to the fourth, you miss a couple of shots, St Kilda go down the other end, again, slingshot, put us out of our misery. It gets to a lead that seems unassailable. There's part of me that just thinks that is, well, fuck, we've done everything humanly possible, but we've just gassed it in front of the big sticks. And it's had this demoralising effect on the rest of the playing group. So I don't know how much we read into that. A lot of people are speaking about, lowest pressure rating quarter ever under Goody. They should have wanted it more. I guarantee if Disco or Milk had kicked one of those opportunities and then we got a chance to get it back to about 13 or 14 points with 6 minutes left, if a couple of those shots register and they go in, I don't think we're actually sitting here talking about this pressure rating of the last quarter. So, look, there's plenty of people getting hung up on it. But for me, I think it was just a direct result of that deflating effect of not kicking it through the big sticks and getting some ascendancy going early in that last quarter.
Yeah, it was a deflating effect. But also, like, they weren't coming from a high standpoint with the intensity when they rocked up anyway. So it was like, yeah, the last quarter was low, but the first 3 quarters were off the boil of what we've seen in the past few weeks. It was probably only this little patch in the third quarter where Petty got that tackle inside 50, and even just before then we were really applying some heat and we locked it in that half of the ground for a long time. Like it almost lived down there the whole third quarter, and we just couldn't score from it because it was so congested. So, yeah, they looked fatigued all game, but in the last, like, it did look like they accepted defeat and put the cue in the rack. And it wasn't like a full wave the white flag and they kick a couple late ones, but it was definitely a drop off, and they had mentally conceded, which, I don't know, like you're 4 goals down with 5 minutes to, like, it is over. Like, it, yeah. And the Saints play a very taxing game as well. Like, they were just on us all day, like just hanging off us. I was getting frustrated through parts of the game where, like, in the midfield, Cos and Track couldn't get near the footy because they were just getting held. And I know that's a little bit whingy, but it's the facts. Like, I could cut up so many edits of Track not being on the ball, and he's like just about to burst and grab it, and there's Steele and Hunter Clark hanging off them. So, and the Saints do that all across the ground, and some of it's legal, some of it's illegal, but it never gets paid. But that is a taxing, tiring, defensive brand that the Saints play. Like, they are, and it's great for them, and it gets results 1 in every 4 or 5 games, but it ultimately wore us down.
The other thing as well, which I find quite funny, is we clearly got outworked by the Saints, and we clearly played some very lazy football. But this is where I'm going to go glass half full and try and find some positives. Despite all of that, St Kilda being better in the turnover game, which is modern footy, the fact that they were clinical and they took their chances. If Melbourne had kicked straight, we would have probably won the contest, and we had so many passengers. Like, so many passengers. So it's funny, and it probably speaks to maybe I would say the bottom 6, bottom 8 players of St Kilda. Like, they're a raw team still, going to take a bit of time. Their top-end talent's really good. But it's funny where we're talking about a world where if Melbourne actually convert, we're probably walking away with a really dodgy, shitty, we grounded out, we played some of our worst footy of the year, and we just needed to get the job done. And there was part of me thinking that halfway through the third quarter when we were getting close enough. And if Xavier Lindsay bins that one when he was in plenty of space, yeah, it's on a bit of an angle from 45 out. He misses. We get it back to, I think it's a 6-point lead at that time. We probably go on with it. And I just had the GWS Richmond in my head during the third quarter.
Yeah.
I was like, just got to do a GWS. Just got to find a way. Just got to get it done. Then you've got to go to the tape. You've got to review it internally and just tell yourselves, you know what? That was shit. That wasn't enough. The thing that might work in our favour, and a lot of people will think this is ridiculous thinking, but it at least means that you will not see a lazy, arrogant football team. Like there was a part of me in that first quarter and I was thinking, we've rocked up to Alice Springs acting like we're a top 4 outfit, playing against a paltry bottom 4 side.
Yeah.
And we got what we deserved in that respect. And it was that run of 6 unanswered goals, which was the difference. And that was a result of us, I believe, just being mentally complacent and just being a bit arrogant and thinking, oh, you know, we've won 5 out of 6 and look at us. We're the informed team of the comp or one of them. So that goes out the window now. You have to see a response next week against Collingwood because the review is going to be so much more damning given the fact that we didn't get the 4 points. So in a weird way, it's laid bare all of the deficiencies from our performance. The big exclamation mark is, you know, jumping on a plane with the other St Kilda boys and having to suck it up and just front up to all of the honest words and the hard truths that'll come out of that performance, both defensively and offensively, and how we kicked in front of goal. So part of me, Kados, was thinking, oh, even if we grind it out and we get over the line, we might try and put this ultra positive spin on it that, oh, good teams find a way when they're not playing well. Well, that could have spelled a bit of danger for next week because they could have walked into King's birthday thinking that, you know, they're $1 million and they're certainly not that. And it's going to be patchy. We're going to have down days. There's going to be bumps along the way. And you've been saying that consistently on this show. So in a strange way, I think at least they can look at it, review it, analyse it for what it is. And it doesn't paper over the cracks leading into a King's birthday because even if we go down to Collingwood, and I was saying this to Robbo on Robbo's rundown, he was saying the same thing. If we can at least put up a fight against the benchmark in the competition, it is the greatest examination of our journey as Melbourne 2.0 under Simon Goodwin, if we want to call it that. At least we know we're going to see a Melbourne that in theory should put on their best display, knowing that, well, the fans demand a response now.
It was funny, and I know we don't want to move to the Collingwood stuff yet, considering it's so long away. But I was chatting to a couple of Collingwood supporters, and they were saying, "Oh, we're going to flog you guys. Like, we're going to flog yous." And this whole building up to King's birthday, especially with our recent form, I've seen a level of Melbourne football that I haven't seen for a while. Like the best when we put it together in a quarter and whatnot. To me, looks better. Maybe some early 2022 stuff. Nah, I reckon in 2022 we were fudging 15-point results and we weren't looking convincing. So there's some of the footy in the last 5 weeks, and I was saying this to you, has almost looked as dominant and as strong as 2021. Now, we're young and we're transforming and we're not the finished products and we're super raw, but we're slowly but surely designing a game plan that looks as brutal and as dominant as what we've seen in the past. And when we get it right, we're a very good outfit. I was listening to a lot of media during the week where, especially I listened to Adam Treloar and Josh Dunkley's podcast, and they spoke for about 2 or 3 minutes glowingly about us, saying how And it was Josh Dunkley in particular, who plays for arguably the best team in the competition. And he said, mate, the D's, like their best is scary. Like it is what they did to us at the Gabba and then what they did against the Swans. And the Swans, we know, are going through a down patch at the moment, but he said, I don't care. Like when it clicks for the D's, they could beat anyone in the competition, is what he said. And I was like, yeah, I've seen this. Like I've noticed that our best can take it up to the best. So when I was having a conversation with the Collingwood mates of mine, I was saying, yeah, don't count your chickens, because it wouldn't surprise me if we rock up and perform the way we did against Brisbane or Freo to Collingwood and get close enough. Now, I don't know whether that'll result in a win, but it just wouldn't surprise me off the back of what we've seen if our brutal pressure game of footy can stack up well against them, especially 2 seasons ago. We stifled their ball movement. Our forward press was one of the only teams in that year that actually halted the Pies. But also, this Melbourne footy side has the capabilities of getting absolutely torched as well. Like a 10-goal loss is there for the taking if the wrong algorithm gets spat out on that day. So it is terrifying to rock up thinking like, on one hand, we could just sit through another big, heavy loss at the hands of Collingwood. But there is a little bit of optimism that if the D's that played the Swans, or even for 3 quarters against the Hawks, one of the best teams in it, for 4 quarters against the Giants, one of the best teams in it, Freo, they're a top 6, top 5 looking side, and we did a number on them. What we did to Brisbane at the Gabba, I know that team, we're building towards being that team more consistently than not. But if we can produce that, we're going to be up to our eyeballs. So, but yeah, anything can happen on that day, which is worrying.
I could not agree more. It is the great unknown. It would be too easy. And Scott Horton, I'm going to clip you, because he's like, we're going to get smashed by the Pies. We're going to get smashed by the Pies. It's too simplistic. It's too emotional. It's too in the moment. And I get that people are looking a week ahead now going, oh my God, it's such a daunting task. Yeah. To your point, we have shown that we can take it up to some of the best teams in the competition. And we have played some scintillating footy in the last 6 weeks. So we can't excuse what we've seen in this 7-week patch. We've won 5 games. We've lost 2. We were poor today. God, we were poor. We were so poor today. However, if it's not 7-21, you potentially walk away with this really sketchy win where we just get over the line. We crush St Kilda's hearts at the end. Didn't happen, but there was a conceivable world. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we've seen some growth in some players. We've seen some elements of our game that have worked. Our forward handball game has been really fun to watch. We've been better defensively behind the ball. It certainly wasn't the case today, but we've seen enough evidence to suggest that the game plan is starting to click. Players are starting to buy in. It's free-flowing. It's damaging. The forward half pressure game wasn't there today, which was disappointing. But again, we've seen it in recent weeks. So we cannot lose sight of that. And this is probably the messaging of the coaching staff and what Simon Goodwin was preaching when we were 0-5, and I was telling him he needs to go, and plenty of others were saying, Goody's got to go. You've just got to stay the course of what we're building. You just have to. You just got to be process-driven. And the players will front up and they'll see some pretty confronting footage from today, some really shitty half-assed efforts. In one-on-ones airily, not enough pressure on the ball carrier. There'll be a few things that will probably just give them a little clip and a bit of a reality check of, if you drink the bathwater and get ahead of yourself, this is what can happen in this great game of Aussie rules. And St Kilda were up for the fight. They were a team that had lost 3 in a row coming in, and everyone was saying it was a fait accompli that they'd lose another one against a rising Melbourne. And this is what happens. If you're 5-10% off, this is what happens. You get done. So let's not lose sight of what we've built and what we're building, because it's been pretty good. It's been pretty impressive. It's just when the vibes were so high, Caden, even just during the week, seeing you, speaking to everyone, seeing Robbo, having him in the studio, it's such a Melbourne thing. It is such a Melbourne thing to throw out a performance like that and just drag us back into the mire yet again. Do not lose sight of what we've been building, though. That's the big message here, because I've certainly enjoyed seeing some of the growth, and I've certainly enjoyed seeing some of the patches of footy that we've strung together for sustainable periods of games that have won us games of footy. And hey, if we can produce a little bit of that scintillating footy on King's birthday against Collingwood, we mightn't win the game, but we might give them a run. And I'll probably walk away going, if it's a loss, and I don't really believe in honourable losses anymore, not for this group anyway, because I think we're trying to pry open a new window in the next couple of years and have another tilt at the flag again. But if you can leave the G knowing that we gave absolutely everything, things clicked at different times and we made Collingwood look a little bit silly at times, and they got us by 2-3 goals, you've almost just got to sit there and say, well, it's all part of the journey, isn't it?
To dive into this game, some of the mistakes and the clangers were just what we witnessed between rounds 2 and 5 or whatever it was. Like, unforced errors. Like, it's so frustrating. And one that almost cost us a goal, and I could see it coming from a mile away, was late in the second or third when Max Gawn has it at half-back, and he just goes his 15-metre kick. And this is why I hate watching the game on TV, because when I'm there, I know that 15-metre kick is either what is he doing, or it's either, they're safe. But when you're watching it on TV, you've got no idea of the surroundings and of the riskiness of the kick. And it was just this lazy one-step kick, maybe to Bowie, and he popped it up. And it was, I think it was Bowie or McVie or one of the halfbacks was under pressure. Turns it over. They should have scored. They should have scored a goal, and that would have been the game at the time. So stuff like that, I hadn't seen for weeks. Like, I didn't get to see the last quarter against Hawthorn. I was playing a game of local footy, and we started at 4 o'clock. So I saw the first 3 quarters, and I can't recall in that game, despite losing, seeing the clangers. And then Brisbane, when we played against the Lions would torch us with their strengths through their ball movement end to end or some stoppage stuff. But it wasn't just us like lazily kicking it out and just fucking it up like we did against North Melbourne. We did that so much against North Melbourne, just gave up easy goals for no reason. So when I saw a little bit of that today, so disappointing. And I hadn't seen it for ages, to a point where when we played the Swans, we were chiseling that kick mark game with so much conviction that we looked like we'd been doing it for years. Like, against the Swans, the confidence from everyone to just bite it off, and everyone knew where the next kick was going, and everyone knew where to give space to, and we just looked like we had it down pat. So to see that it looked a bit clunky again today was really disappointing. And the other thing that pissed me off a lot was when we had chains of handballs, they did these like big netball goal defense jumping like two-handed smothers with the handball chains, and like 4 or 5 times we just handballed straight into this big jumping smother. And it was like, man, you can see that coming from a mile away. You can either balk around them because they've committed to this big jumping double-handed smother. You can balk around them. You can handball it under them. You can do whatever you want. You can probably crawl under. Like, they've just committed to it so much that you don't have to handball. But we kept doing it. It was so frustrating. And stuff like that we hadn't seen in the game for a while.
It's funny. I think back to last week and I was lauding all the senior guys because they really stood up. Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver, Salem, Ed Langdon. They were awesome. Like, all of them were so good last week against Sydney. And it was one of the biggest differences in the contest was just seeing the leadership on show, the performances from all those individuals. The more I think about it now, it's like those are the guys, if you run through the numbers, just
Yeah.
looking at them now, like those are the guys that let us down, unfortunately. And Cozzy Pickett just had such an off day. I said the only blot on his copybook is he'll have his 20 disposals and kick his 5, but he has to get to this world where he has a 18 and a 3 or an 18 and a 2, and he still has an influence on the contest. And today he was nowhere really near it. And again,
Yeah.
he did a great job. So, and Jake Lever as well, like, God, I'm a bit concerned about Jake. Like, he looks pretty proppy. He doesn't look right. I think his injury concerns from a longer term point of view are definitely a concern for the football club. It's probably something I haven't really wanted to speak about in recent weeks. It's easy when you're winning. You don't really want to think and talk about these things, but that was a bit of a shock to me today, just the way he looked. It didn't look like Jake, and Jake hasn't really looked like himself since he came back into the team. And Tom McDonald's just sitting there.
We've got someone there who's arguably in career best form in defence. I didn't mind giving T-Mac a bit of a freshen up, and I know Jake Lever's coming in, so, you know, a gun to my head, and we're playing a grand final next week, I'm probably picking Jake Lever over Tom McDonald, but knowing that one's in form and the other one's not quite right, maybe it is an opportunity to let Jake Lever get back to his best, either in the twos or maybe a fitness block.
I think a fitness block makes sense. And it's funny, these things get carried, or you carry these things if you're winning games of footy. But as I was saying before, like all of the deficiencies in a game or the individual performances in a game or players that are maybe not at the optimum level of fitness, it all gets laid bare when you lose. And that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. And often sports sides, no matter what the competition, will talk about this. In losses, you get the opportunity to go through and critique all of the different facets that aren't working, and you get an opportunity to correct them. And Jake, as an individual, just didn't really look at it. He looked like a man that probably isn't fully fit. So Tom McDonald has to be considered in that respect. We know that Aiden Johnson's probably going to miss a week or two for his hit. So JVR and Jeffo kicking bags. I think Jeffo is potentially just in front of JVR. He's been playing some good footy for Casey, kicked another 5 on the weekend. So he comes back into consideration. So it'll be one of Jacob Van Rooyen or Matt Jefferson coming in for King's birthday. Disappointing from Aiden Johnson. It was silly, really, really silly. But
yeah,
he didn't have a huge say on proceedings anyway. And I think Jeffo or JVR deserve their opportunity to come back in. But yeah, I think individually, I wouldn't probably look beyond that. I'd probably just say, hey, where are you at, Jake? Have an honest conversation about his body and how he's feeling, because it doesn't look like he's tracking as the same player that we've seen over so many years for this football club now. And then, yeah, it's a Matt Jefferson or I think a JVR that come back in for Aiden Johnson. And T-Mac, well, he's had a pretty good freshen up. So it just makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Just on Aiden Johnson, we knew this is what we were getting when we drafted him. And it's disappointing. It's so undisciplined, and it's something that I remember Goody when he got the tackle wrong earlier in the season against GWS and he missed a week or so. Goody said that's something that we're going to have to coach out of him, because we love his attack. We love his appetite for the physical contest. He loves decking blokes. Like, his highlight package when we drafted Aiden Johnson was him taking massive clunks and just dangerously tackling people. His whole highlights package was just dangerous tackles. And I watched it going like, I love that he's out to hurt, but it's not going to stack up in the AFL. You're going to get reported and suspended for it. I almost want to play slight devil's advocate with the bump, because I assume with the rubric, it's going to be 3 weeks. But because it was careless, it was so careless, and I'm not sure he fully nailed him in the head, but he definitely got him high. Like, I can't really argue against that. But I think the Langdon tackle component of it makes it look like Aiden Johnson's bump completely knocks Wanganeen Miller off his feet and to the ground. And when I see the contact, which was super light, I'd almost think that the bump didn't knock him that hard. It was more the tackle. But regardless, he's ran into him. The ball's just left the area. He's left the ground and he's gone the bump. So
it's the intent. It's not a good look. It's the intent. It could have been a lot worse. I'm not going to stick up for him.
Yeah, it is a shocking look. It's just weird that, we don't have to go that far back where some players, I don't know, also that non-concussion piece I find really interesting because Naz played out the game. So, I don't know, it's weird that some players can get fully concussed and retire and there's no weeks. And then obviously, an ill-discipline act that didn't result in an injury, the guy plays on, but we'll see a 3 or 4 weeker. It is good that the AFL is stamping it out, but it is frustrating that there are inconsistencies. But yeah, I think Aiden Johnson's, it's going to be a hard one to argue. I tried my best.
Another frustrating thing. No, it's okay. But I think
fought the good fight. But on reflection, go on, John.
I think it's just see you, AJ. Thanks for your time.
In terms of his replacement, though, it seems like Jeffo's in better form in the VFL, but it's not a like for like. Like JVR is meant to be the gorilla, so it's like Jeffo's
not really the gorilla though. He's 193. That's the thing about JVR. If you had another 5-6 centimeters, or he's a bit of a bigger boy, and I feel like he's lost his mongrel bastard a bit. His attack on the contest. That's what Robbo was saying. He thinks that a couple of those incidents where JVR got rubbed out, he feel like he's become a little bit too tentative as a footballer. He's got to get back to that instinctive play that he had in his game when he burst onto the scene. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with, and a big opportunity for either player, if it is JVR or Matt Jefferson. Just fixating on a few numbers again. Langdon, 13 touches. Clary, 16 touches. Rivers, 14. Salem, 14. Harvey Langford, only 10. Man. Most of those players fairly senior. Clary, Langdon, Salem in particular. Rivers almost in that category now, you'd have to say for sure. He's played 100 plus. And Langford, I mean, he's a kid. He's going to have down days. But, you can go through the stat sheet. You can sit here all day and you can look at the numbers and just the level of output, the lack of pressure across the board. I think the complacency in the first quarter may be a definite thing. It's always hard to read those things because they are mental, but just not good enough. And just expecting a bounce back. It was very un-Melbourne-like of what we've seen the past 6 weeks. And, yeah, I'm just hoping that we bounce back. I honestly don't have much more to add, Caden. Like, what more can you say? Like, we've seen this script so many times. It's beyond frustrating. I'm sick of talking about it. We've got the most behinds in the competition. We're the most inaccurate team in the competition. We continue to find new ways of losing games. It was picture perfect up there in Alice Springs. When we were missing simple, routine AFL level shots, St Kilda were just waltzing it down the other end and kicking them from all angles. What more can you say? So pressure was shit. We were off in the first 15. It cost us dearly in the end on the scoreboard. We were chasing tail all day. We were chasing the scoreboard all day. We were pushing shit uphill. We crumbled in front of goal. And we've just left a massive 4 points on the table that could have got us square on the ledger. And it's one of those ones in the wash-up, if you want to go bigger picture, probably going to cost us a genuine chance at the finals. Like, that's how stupid this loss is today. It is stupid. A really stupid loss, Melbourne, because I was dreaming of a world, and I still can. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks and after the bye. But there was a big belief from me that we could really make a run at it. But not getting the chocolates today, it just sets us back so much, mate, considering our percentage is shot as it is anyway.
Yeah, I was the same as you. Like, it was like so much work to do in the season and too much work. Like, ultimately, 0-5, it's it's borderline impossible to do anything with the season from that point. But the momentum we had and the way we were playing, it was more the way we were playing, the style. Like what I saw against the Swans, and on reflection, now that they've just been throttled by the Crows, it's like, was that a bit of a disappointing result by us to not beat them by more? And it did feel like that last Sunday, but just the manner, that tackling and the brutality and the way we bullied the Swans, it was what I saw in the Premiership year. So I saw that off the back of winning 5 of 6, and I thought, man, if we bring this most weeks, we're going to beat a lot of sides and we're going to be in every game. So, yeah, as you said, to rock up, drop the 4 points that we desperately need. I don't know. It basically has, it's put a line through us, essentially. And it's about what we do for the rest of the season, because we've got winnable games and we can go on a bit of a run and we can be a plucky side and we can build a platform for 2026. And I think Zave Lindsay with 20 games, Harvey Langford with 20 games. Windsor's a bit of a worry for me at the moment. He was such a standout last season, and he's not a defender, but he's got assets that we really like off the half back line. But even he's starting to wane with his strengths. His foot skills, when he first came in, was a thing of beauty. And I know it's high pressure kicks off the half back line, but they're starting to frustrate me. It's almost becoming a sore point in our teams. He's kicking. So, but regardless, I think 2025 being a season where we inject games into a lot of those guys, and now that we've seen Chandler and Bowie go to another level, Rivers, Cos go to another level, I feel like we're closer than we are further away, but we've still got a lot of frustrating road ahead of us, I think, which I don't know. I don't know how long that'll be.
I'm going to reflect on that. If we're closer, my gut says we are closer. If I'm
closer than what we were end of 2024,
yeah, well, I mean, if I'm sitting here a year ago, it's the anniversary of the massacre against Fremantle. So, I mean, yeah, we're definitely a little bit closer in that respect. But
even at that point, I thought, don't worry, we'll lose to Freo. We'll get a run on the back half of the year. We'll finish top 5. And
it's more just, I understand how important the forward half territory game still is to Simon Goodwin, and we have definitely done a better job to generate score from our defensive half and kick a score on turnover, which has been an Achilles heel of ours for the past couple of years, and you need to be good in that aspect of your game if you want to compete at the very top. So we've been much better in that regard in this little 6-week patch before today, but it's just when we play that aggressive press, I'll probably end it on this. It can be so suicidal if the ball gets out the back. And I said it in my preseason preview with Scotty. It's still the thing that I worry about the most. When the ball hits the deck and there's acres of space in behind us, see you later. It's a goal to the opposition. So it means that we still run the gauntlet where we know that we're going to unfortunately concede score behind the ball. If we play that aggressive press, it's just going to happen. And it happened today. And I think Melbourne might sit there and go, even though we didn't do well enough from some of the things that we've been good at in recent weeks, contested footy, pressure, we still generated enough opportunities to win the game, albeit in really sketchy circumstances, as I said before. But it's just this frustrating script that just rears its ugly head when you think it's gone. And it's that idea of you win expected score, you have most of the forward half territory, you have, what were we, plus 17 in inside 50s as I look at it. But you get absolutely done once that aggressive press gets broken and exposed. And that's all St Kilda did all day long, pretty much. And all they had to do, and they knew it, was get numbers behind the ball, hold your position, set up the grid. And then if Melbourne couldn't win it through forward half pressure, tackles like the Petty one, and Melbourne didn't intercept it in the air, and St Kilda could halve the contest down the line, and then they could get their runners at the feet of the big men, then suddenly it didn't take much of a chain to get over our aggressive press. So I know that Goody loves it. I would just wish we had a little bit more tactical flexibility where we could go away from it for maybe a quarter or two. And we couldn't really do that today because we're chasing the game. So one of the very few ways I thought we could get ourselves back into it, and it's evident when you look at the scoring shots, was to play that aggressive press and that forward territory game. But I still wish we had more strings to our bow. I still wish we had some different modes that we could flick into at different times and not set ourselves up in this somewhat suicidal way, because Ross Lyon would have absolutely known that this is the way we're going to play today. And it played into their hands, and they were so disciplined behind the ball. And as soon as they had an opening and they had enough numbers to just carry it out and get it over the top of our press, we were done. So outwitted in the coaching box. Ross rode his luck a little bit because we obviously didn't execute in front of goal. Our goal kicking was terrible. But I just wish, Caden, we were a little bit more tactically flexible, because I'm just sick and tired of seeing this script. That's what I'm going to end it on.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, we even in results like this, we seem to do a lot right, which makes it even more frustrating. And watching today, I felt almost frustrated that we were still in it at times. Like, it was halfway through the third. I'd sort of conceded the result very early, to be honest. Like, once I saw that first quarter, I'm like, well, this isn't a team that's going to do anything this afternoon. But then we get it back to 12 points, and I'm like, man, we've dominated the last quarter. Couldn't quite get it on the board. We've dominated the last 2 quarters. And then by the end of it, it felt like we were strong for 3 and, yeah, still fell short. So I know we're wrapping up, but what really frustrated me, and it's a whole conversation, we've had it before, but towards the back end of that last quarter when Caminiti was immovable, Wilkie was immovable, Webster was taking marks, there was that part of me that just said, it's been an issue for a long time, but we need that key forward, and that's something that they're going to have to address. Like, it's we get away with it at times, like when we kick 120 against the Swans, a part of me goes, I don't know, can we do it with small ball? But it was just, I used embarrassing earlier, but I was embarrassed that Wilkie took so many easy marks and Caminiti was just clunking them. And I love that, JVR's great that he's that Jack Rewalt mould, but I love that Tom Lynch figure, that towering, big bastard, strong. He took some great marks against the Giants on the weekend, and it's like, man, if we had Tom Lynch for the last 5 years, yeah, I wonder how the history books would be written. But yeah, we've spoken about it at length, and it's now or never though. Like, it's got to get sorted.
7 weeks, 7 matches, 5 wins, 2 losses, but the most recent match just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. We go into King's birthday. It's going to be bloody tough, but as I said earlier, the greatest examination of this journey that we're on with Simon as Melbourne 2.0. But for the love of God, if we start that game 1-6 or something diabolical, and we've had all the running, and Collingwood just get out the back, and they're...
And the Bronx cheers when we're missing 15 out.
And
the pressure.
And Collingwood are like a 5-1 on the scoreboard or something akin to that. It's almost go home early areas.
Yeah.
Because
I'll say a Jollymont.
Because it'll just feel like another of those days. When will these days ever end? So we've had some amazing times under Simon Goodwin. We've had some incredible road wins, won some big finals, won a flag. We've had some really good times. We've had a few shit years there as well. But one common theme that we've had is we've had days like this that feel like they don't happen to any other team in the comp as frequently as they happen to us, Kados. So we've been great at the contested footy, great at the forward half territory and contested beasts and all that, and it's great. Like, we've had some good times. But a part of our DNA has been this wildly inaccurate team that just finds new ways to shoot themselves in the foot. And as I said before, I was really hoping that these days were beyond us, but I think we just have to suck it up and accept that this is just a part of who we are under Goody. We're just going to have these days, and they pop up when you least expect them, and that's what fucking annoys me. But anyway, in a weird way, I feel much better for this experience, for this podcast, for sitting here with you, chewing the fat for an hour, Kados, because now I've got it out of my system. I won't be this dark cloud around my wife as I was before walking around the house before recording this. I could just see her. She was just like, oh, get him away from me. So now I can leave this room, go and sit on the couch, watch a bit of telly with her and just be like, I'm all good again. I've had my therapy. I'm fine. So there we go.
Yeah. Well, the only way is through. We can't go under it. We can't go around it. We can only go through it. And we have the Pies in front of the entire footballing world and the country in 7 days or 8 days. So, yeah, take the week, buckle up, and we go again.
Anything could happen that day. Like anything. Anything could happen.
We could lose by 100. Like if we play half as what we rolled out today, and they are just at their scintillating best, and it's sort of like it's what Gold Coast did to us, but it's the Pies. On it could happen. But then we could come out, kick 120, keep them to 80, and it's this shock result where they were off, and we just put them to the sword. Or it could just be an absolute ball burst that comes down to the wire, and Matt Jefferson from 45 in front of the members.
Like a Naughtsie moment.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Anything could happen. But, mate, thank you. As always, it was good. It was cathartic. I think we both needed this. So, yeah, I can get on with my working week tomorrow and just forget about it for tomorrow and maybe the day after. Yeah, that's what happens. I feel like when you win, you're just like so absorbed. You're watching every program.
Yeah.
You're reading every news article. You're so heavily entrenched in it. And I think this week, particularly tomorrow and Tuesday and probably Wednesday, I don't know if I'm going to think about it that much.
Yeah, I'm clocking off. I'm definitely clocking off. I need some Luke Jackson rumours to get me back up and about.
Yeah,
until then, I'm going to be, off all the shows and off all the sites.
Beautiful work. I'll leave it there in the studio Thursday night. Not sure who with. I'm probably not going to ask the boys yet and Penny yet, just because everyone's feeling a bit down the doldrums. And then, we get ready for King's birthday. Casey report, probably crank that one out with Cam Burt tomorrow. Some really good performances in the Magoos. No Robbo's rundown, having a breather. We'll come back after King's birthday. And, we'll just leave it at that. But thanks to everyone who supports the channel. All the premium subscribers, and just thanks to everyone that sends in the kind messages. In times like this, it means a lot more, honestly. So, it was hard to front up tonight, I'm not going to lie, but I definitely feel better off for it. And, I just want to thank the fans, the faithful, love the club, bring on King's birthday.